The number one thing women are usually worried about when it comes to the finances part of getting divorced is how am I going to pay for a lawyer? And look, that is a very important question. I am a lawyer, so obviously, I have thoughts on that. But before we ever even get to that point, what I want you to do when you're putting together your go plan, your all but done plan, is to think about the other aspects of your life that you've got to have the money for. Because, yeah, paying for the lawyer, but are you worried about paying for the lawyer if you can't pay your rent? If you can't put gas in your car? If you can't make sure the daycare is paid? So I want you to a little bit shift your focus. You got to figure out the lawyer part, and that's its whole own thing. All right. I'm not trying to act like that's not a big deal. It is a big deal. We can figure out how to do that. But I'm a practical person first. And before I'm worried about paying a lawyer, I'm making sure I can go to the HEB or the Kroger and get the Cheerios for the kids, right? And especially if you're in a marriage where he's been largely in charge of finances. Maybe you've even stayed home or you just sort of left that whole thing to him. You may not have any logins. You may only be a card holder on all of the credit cards. And what that means is he can just turn off your credit cards and you could go to the gas pump and literally have no way to pay the money. So, first, what you would do is research and kind of think about how am I set up in my own life to cover the finances? Can he just cut me off? Do I have access to any bit of money? Okay, so first of all, figure that out. And depending on how that goes, you may have to take different steps. But let's just say, okay, I am just a card holder on some, but I've got access to one of these accounts, right? So then pretend one of those accounts where you're both on it, is that the account that gets spent down every single month? Like some men will just put a certain amount of money only out of their checks to cover the bills and nothing extra. And then you're left without anything. So if you're getting divorced and he's like, oh yeah, you think you're going to walk away? We'll see. And then he cuts you off. How are you going to pay for gas? And that's a tough question for a lot of people to think through. And it's the thing that keeps so many women stuck in terrible marriages.